Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt smaller, like everyone else knew something you didn't? Maybe you told yourself, "I'm not good enough to be here." If so, you're not alone. Millions of people live that way every single day, not because they lack talent or brains, but because they forget one simple truth: you become what you believe. One summer morning in Illinois, a young boy named Eddie sat on his front porch watching cars roll by. His father worked long hours fixing machines, and his mother cleaned houses to keep food on the table. Eddie dreamed of doing something big, building his own company someday. But every time he shared his dream, someone laughed. "Be realistic," they said. "People like us don't end up successful." So Eddie stopped talking about it. He kept his head down, did what he was told, and learned to make himself small. Years later, while working at a dusty auto shop, he met an older man named Mr. Davis, who carried himself differently. He wasn't loud or bossy, but he walked with quiet confidence, like he belonged wherever he went. One afternoon, Mr. Davis noticed Eddie's slouched shoulders and tired expression. He wiped his hands on a rag and said, "Kid, you'll never rise higher than you see yourself. Fix that first, and the rest will follow." Those words changed Eddie's life. Napoleon Hill once wrote that thoughts are things, powerful forces that shape our destiny. Every success, every failure, every turning point begins in the mind. When you think small, your world shrinks with you. When you think big, doors begin to open. The first step toward confidence and success is not a fancy degree, a business plan, or knowing the right people. It's a decision, the decision to believe you belong. The mirror truth. Try this. Stand in front of a mirror and look yourself in the eyes. What do you see? Most people see their mistakes, their flaws, the times they failed. But what if you looked again and saw potential? The person you could become. Your self-image is the seed of your reality. The way you see yourself determines how you act, how you speak, how you dream. Hill called this the mental blueprint, the picture your subconscious works day and night to build into reality. If you tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," your mind looks for proof to back it up. You notice every flaw, every rejection, every mistake. But if you tell yourself, "I am capable and I belong," your mind starts to gather evidence for that too. You stand taller, speak clearer, and take the chances that once scared you. Confidence doesn't start outside of you. It begins inside, in how you choose to see yourself. You are not less than anyone. No one was born better than you. That's not opinion, that's fact. Abraham Lincoln was born in a one-room log cabin. He had no fancy education, no wealthy connections, no head start in life. But Lincoln refused to believe that his humble beginning meant a humble future. He studied by candlelight, spoke with conviction, and carried himself like a man who belonged among leaders. Long before the world saw him that way, Hill would call that definite purpose. Lincoln chose how to see himself, and that choice shaped his destiny. The people you admire, athletes, business owners, creators, leaders, aren't different species. They're people who made a decision you haven't made yet, the decision to believe in their own worth. They stopped saying, "Why me?" and started saying, "Why not me?" Your brain believes what you tell it. Modern science now backs up what Hill wrote nearly a century ago. Your brain is like a powerful search engine. It scans the world for proof of what you already believe. Tell it you're weak, and it finds reasons to prove you right. Tell it you're strong, and it will find strength you didn't know you had. That's not wishful thinking, it's neuroscience. The human mind filters billions of pieces of information every second. Your beliefs decide which ones you notice. So when you decide, "I belong," your mind begins to notice opportunities, people, and paths that were invisible before. You stop waiting for permission. You stop apologizing for existing. You start walking like someone who matters, because you do. The story you tell yourself. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." That sentence is a master key to life. The world will always have critics. Some people will doubt you, misunderstand you, or talk behind your back. That's their story, not yours. Your story is written in how you respond. Do you shrink, or do you rise? Every time you tell yourself, "I'm not enough," you're handing your power away. But every time you say, "I belong here," you take it back. The lesson of the mirror. Each morning when you open your eyes, you face a choice as powerful as Lincoln's or Roosevelt's. Even if it doesn't feel that way, you can see yourself as someone limited by your past, or as someone rising toward a new future. You can see someone ordinary, or someone extraordinary in progress. That choice will shape every part of your day, your attitude, your decisions, your relationships. Your success. You don't need anyone's permission to change your self-perception. You don't need approval, applause, or luck. All you need is belief. So start today. When you walk into a room, act like you belong there, because you do. When you face a challenge, tell yourself you can handle it, because you can. When you look in the mirror, see someone who matters, because that person is already you. The takeaway: Eddie from Illinois eventually started his own repair shop. It grew, slowly at first, then faster. Customers liked him not just for his skill but for his quiet confidence. Years later, when people asked the secret to his success, he smiled and said, "I stopped thinking I wasn't good enough, and everything changed." That's the power of belief. That's where confidence begins, and that's where your journey starts. Right now, with one simple truth: you are not less than anyone. You belong. Would you like me to continue with part 2? Confidence is a habit, not a trait. Next, in the same Napoleon Hill style storytelling tone, around 1,000 words. Part 2, Becoming Before You Believe. Hook. Have you ever waited for the right moment to chase your dream? The moment you'd finally feel ready, confident, brave? Here's the truth. That moment doesn't exist. If you're waiting to feel confident before you act, you'll wait forever. Confidence doesn't come first. Action does. The people who change their lives don't wait for courage. They act as if they already have it. The secret of acting as if. Years ago, a young woman named Laura dreamed of becoming a motivational speaker. But she was shy. Every time she stood in front of people, her voice shook and her palms sweated. One night, while flipping through an old book, she read a line by Napoleon Hill that stopped her cold. "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Laura decided to test it. The next day, she walked into her community center, stood a little taller, and introduced herself as if she were already a confident speaker. She smiled, looked people in the eye, and spoke slowly, clearly, even though her heart was pounding. At first, she was pretending. But something strange happened. People started treating her like a confident person. And within a few weeks, she began feeling confident for real. That's the magic of acting as if. You don't wait to believe, you become first, and belief catches up. Feelings follow actions. Most people think feelings should come first. They wait to feel brave before acting brave. They wait to feel ready before starting. But that's not how life works. Feelings are not instructions, they're reactions. Your mind watches what you do and then decides what kind of person you must be. If you walk tall, speak clearly, and make bold choices, your mind assumes you're strong, and starts creating feelings to match. If you slouch, avoid eye contact, and hesitate, your mind assumes you're weak, and your confidence drains away. It's not lying or faking. It's simply using your body and behavior to teach your brain who you really are. When you act like the best version of yourself, your brain adjusts its beliefs to match your actions. Amelia Sky. No one understood this better than Amelia Earhart. In a time when most people believed flying was a man's job, Amelia refused to wait for permission. She didn't wait to feel like she belonged in the sky, she acted like she did. She dressed in flight clothes before she had a plane. She spoke with authority about aviation before she had official experience. She carried herself like a pilot before the world recognized her as one. And soon, the world had no choice but to see her as she saw herself. Her acting as if became reality. The lesson: don't wait for the world to believe in you, believe in yourself first, act accordingly, and the world will follow. The language of the body: before you even say a word, your body has already spoken. Your posture, your eyes, your gestures, they tell the world what to think about you. Napoleon Hill taught that your outer world mirrors your inner belief, and the connection runs both ways. How you move affects how you think. Stand tall with your shoulders back, and your body releases chemicals that make you feel powerful. Slouch, and you send your brain a message of defeat. Modern studies prove what Hill sensed decades ago. A power pose, held for just 2 minutes, can increase confidence hormones and lower stress hormones. Your body isn't just a passenger, it's a steering wheel. It can drive you toward confidence or toward fear. Muhammad Ali's lesson: the legendary boxer Muhammad Ali knew this better than anyone. Before every fight, he strutted, smiled, and shouted, "I am the greatest!" Even when he was scared inside, His body language told a different story. He stood tall, chin high, eyes locked forward, a picture of unstoppable confidence. His opponents saw that and began to doubt themselves before the first punch was thrown. Ali didn't just feel like a champion, he acted like one until it became true. He used his body as a weapon of belief. When you walk into a meeting, an interview, or even your own kitchen, walk like you belong there. Take your time. Breathe deeply. Look people in the eye. When you sit, sit fully. Take up space. When you stand, plant your feet like roots. When you speak, do it with calm power. Your body tells your mind what story to believe. So tell it a story of strength. Speak like you matter. The next piece of confidence isn't about what you look like, it's about how you speak. Every day, people weaken their own voices without realizing it. They say things like, "I might be wrong, but this is probably a stupid question, maybe it's just me." Those words tell your brain, and everyone listening, that you don't believe yourself. Strong people speak with clarity and certainty. They don't shout. They don't dominate. But they speak with calm conviction. Instead of saying, "I think I can," they say, "I can." Instead of, "I might try," they say, "I will." Even Winston Churchill, facing the darkest days of World War II, spoke with unwavering strength. He had every reason to sound afraid, but his words carried power because he believed what he said. His conviction lifted a nation out of despair. Your words carry the same power. When you speak like you matter, people listen, because you've already convinced yourself first. The comparison trap. Now, here's one of the biggest killers of confidence: comparison. The moment you start measuring yourself against others, you lose focus on your own path. There will always be someone richer, faster, smarter. But that's not your race. The only person you need to beat is the version of you from yesterday. When you compare, you forget context. You see someone's highlight reel, not their struggle. You see their success, not their failures, late nights, or hidden fears. Harriet Tubman didn't waste a second comparing herself to those who had more freedom or education. She focused on what she could do with what she had, and she changed history. You have your own race to run. Comparing your beginning to someone else's middle is like comparing a seed to a tree. Your time to bloom will come, if you keep growing. The inner circle effect. Napoleon Hill often said, "Tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are." Your environment shapes your mind. If you surround yourself with complainers, doubters, and small thinkers, you'll absorb their energy without realizing it. But if you spend time with doers, dreamers, and believers, you'll rise. Benjamin Franklin understood this deeply. He formed a group called the Junto, a small circle of ambitious people who met regularly to discuss ideas, challenge each other, and grow together. That circle pushed him to greatness. They didn't let him stay small. You need your own Junto. People who lift you higher. People who see your potential even when you forget it. Be kind to everyone, but be selective about who gets close to your mind. Your future depends on your circle. Fail forward and remember this: failure is not the enemy. Fear is. Every successful person has failed more times than most people have even tried. Failure is proof of courage. It's the sign that you were brave enough to take a swing. Don't fear it. Use it. Learn from it. Every failure builds muscle for the next victory. When you act confident before you believe, when you walk tall, speak clearly, choose good company, and stop comparing, failure can't break you. It can only teach you. The takeaway: confidence is not born. It's built. It's built by action, habit, and choice. Every day, you decide, will you wait to feel ready, or will you act ready? Will you live small, or will you live bold? Amelia acted like she belonged in the sky. Ali acted like a champion. Franklin surrounded himself with visionaries. Tubman acted with courage when the world told her not to. They all had one thing in common: they became before they believed. Now it's your turn. Act as if. Until it becomes real. Would you like me to continue with part 3? Destroying the I'm not enough mindset. Next, in the same engaging, story-rich, Napoleon Hill style and around 1,000 words. Part 3, Failure, the secret path to success. Hook. Most people see failure as the end of the road. They fail once and stop trying, afraid of feeling foolish again. But here's the truth that successful people know: failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the price of admission. The fear that holds most people back. There's a small cafe in Ohio where a man named Jake once sat staring at his laptop. heart pounding. He had an idea for a business, a custom woodworking shop, but he couldn't bring himself to hit publish on his website. He was terrified of failing. What if no one bought anything? What if people laughed at him? What if he wasn't good enough? So he waited. Weeks turned into months. His idea stayed trapped inside his head while his confidence faded away. One day, an older man who ran a local repair shop noticed Jake sitting there every morning. He walked over and said, "Son, if you're not willing to look foolish for a while, you'll stay stuck forever. The only people who never fail are the ones who never try, and they never succeed either." That one sentence woke Jake up. He finally hit publish that night. The first month, he sold nothing. The second month, he made one sale. By the end of the year, he had a waiting list. What changed wasn't luck, it was his relationship with failure. Failure is not the enemy. Most people spend their lives avoiding failure like it's a disease. They protect themselves from embarrassment, from rejection, from looking bad. But in doing so, they protect themselves from growth, excitement, and success too. Failure isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. Every failure gives you information. It tells you what doesn't work so you can find what does. You don't lose when you fail, you learn. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." Think about that. Inside every failure lies the seed of success, but only if you look for it. Thomas Edison's 1,000 experiments. No one understood this better than Thomas Edison, the man who gave the world light. Edison failed thousands of times trying to create a working light bulb. Reporters asked him how it felt to fail so often. He smiled and said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That answer changed history. Most people would have given up after 5 tries. 10, maybe 20. Edison kept going because he didn't see failure as defeat, he saw it as data. Each experiment brought him closer to the solution. Every failure was a clue pointing him toward success. He didn't let mistakes define him, he used them to refine him. And that's the mindset you need if you want to win in life. Failure is the proof of courage. When you fail, it means one thing: you were brave enough to try. Most people never fail because they never attempt anything bold. They stay safe, small, and invisible. They never test their limits, so they never discover their power. You are different. You're willing to risk looking foolish. You're willing to fall and get back up. That alone puts you ahead of most people. Failure doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're alive. It means you had the courage to step into the arena while others stayed in the stands. Every time you fail, you're proving to yourself that you're still in the fight. And every time you rise after falling, your strength doubles. The gold hidden in defeat. When Napoleon Hill studied hundreds of America's most successful people, from Henry Ford to Andrew Carnegie, he discovered that nearly all of them had one thing in common: their greatest successes came right after their greatest failures. Henry Ford's first 2 car companies went bankrupt before he built Ford Motor Company. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job for lacking creativity. Colonel Sanders had his chicken recipe rejected over 1,000 times before someone said yes. What made these people special wasn't that they never failed. It was that they refused to quit. They treated failure like a detour, not a dead end. They understood something most people never learn: failure isn't final unless you stop trying. The Edison principle in action. Edison didn't invent electricity, he perfected how to use it. But his real genius wasn't in science. It was in persistence. He saw each setback as feedback. He said, "When you have exhausted all possibilities, remember this: you haven't." That's the spirit of success. That's what Napoleon Hill called definiteness of purpose. The refusal to stop until your vision becomes real. The next time you fail, write this down. This is not the end. This is information. Ask yourself, what did this teach me? What can I do differently next time? How can this make me stronger? If you do that, every failure becomes a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block. The American spirit of resilience. America itself was built on failure. The early pioneers failed again and again. Crops died, towns burned, winters froze them nearly to death. But they didn't stop. They learned, adapted, and built again. That's the spirit that runs through every American success story. The belief that you can't lose if you don't quit. Edison, Lincoln, Ford, Earhart, Ali, they all stumbled. But they refused to let the stumble define the story. Failure wasn't their ending, it was their education. Turning failure into power. Here's how to turn failure into your greatest ally. 1. Redefine it. Stop calling it failure. Call it feedback. It's a lesson, not a label. Point 2. Record it. After every mistake, write what you learned. Keep a failure log that shows how you grew. Point 3. Reframe it. Instead of, I failed, say, I found one way that didn't work. 4. Repeat it. Try again immediately. Don't let time build fear. Point 5. Respect it. Every failure costs something: time, energy, pride. Respect that cost by learning the lesson. Do this consistently, and you'll start to see failure as a friend, one that pushes you toward mastery. The takeaway: failure is not your enemy. It's your coach. It's the universe asking, how bad do you want it? Every failure sharpens your skills, strengthens your mind, and humbles your heart. Each one brings you closer to your goal, if you keep going. Edison didn't stop. Ford didn't stop. Disney didn't stop, and neither should you. The difference between those who dream and those who succeed is simple. The successful ones keep walking through failure until they find the door to success. So the next time you stumble, don't hang your head, smile, take notes, and say to yourself, I just found one more way that doesn't work. Now I'm closer than ever. Failure is not a wall. It's a staircase, and with every step, every lesson, every setback, every bruise, you rise higher. Keep climbing. The light is closer than you think. Would you like me to continue with part 4? The art of acting as if. Next, in the same Napoleon Hill storytelling style, around 1,000 words. Part 4. The art of acting as if. Hook. There comes a moment in every great success story when a person decides to act before they feel ready. That's the secret most people never learn. You don't wait for confidence to show up. You create it by acting as if you already have it. The missing step between dream and reality. A young woman named Clara once dreamed of becoming a public speaker. She read books, took notes, and watched videos of powerful speakers on stage. But whenever she thought about standing in front of a crowd, her stomach tightened and her hands trembled. She told herself, when I finally feel confident, I'll start. But weeks passed, then months, and that feeling never came, until one day, a mentor told her something that changed her life. Clara, stop waiting to feel ready. Act as if you already are the person you want to be. Confidence will catch up. That day, she stopped waiting. She began practicing her speeches in front of the mirror, in front of her cat, in front of empty chairs. She wore the outfit she'd wear on stage. She walked, stood, and spoke like she already belonged there. When her first real speaking event arrived, her hands still shook, but her voice didn't. Because she had already become the person she was pretending to be. Napoleon Hill's law of the mind. Napoleon Hill discovered one of the greatest truths about success. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That belief starts not with proof, but with imagination, the ability to picture yourself as capable before the world agrees. When you act as if, you train your brain to believe a new reality. Your mind doesn't know the difference between something vividly imagined and something real. Hill often said success begins in your mind long before it happens in your life. You must see yourself as successful before you can become successful. The mind obeys your dominant thoughts, so when you act like a confident, capable person, your subconscious starts finding ways to make it true. The power of pretending. With purpose. As children, we all played make-believe. We became astronauts, doctors, heroes. We didn't question if we were ready. We simply acted the part. Then we grew up and replaced imagination with hesitation. But the truth is, successful adults never stop pretending. They just pretend with purpose. When you act as if you already have the courage, skill, or success you desire, something powerful happens inside you. Your body language changes. Your tone of voice shifts. You attract new opportunities because people respond to what you project. Hill called this the law of attraction in action. The idea that you magnetize the things you think and act upon most strongly. The way you walk, talk, and carry yourself tells the world what to expect from you. If you carry yourself like a leader, people will treat you like one. The story of the rookie salesman. Hill once told the story of a young salesman who struggled to make a single sale. He was polite but timid, speaking softly and dressing casually while his coworkers wore sharp suits. One day, an older salesman took him aside and said, "Son, you've got the product and the heart. What you're missing is belief. Dress like the man who closes deals. Walk like him. Talk like him. Act like him, and soon you'll become him." The next day, the young man arrived in a crisp suit. He stood tall, greeted clients with confidence, and spoke with authority. By the end of that month, he was the top performer. Nothing about the product changed, only his self-image. He acted as if he belonged among the best, and soon, he did. Why feelings follow action? People wait to feel brave before doing brave things. They wait to feel confident before taking the stage. But feelings don't lead, actions do. You walk tall first, and then your confidence grows. You speak up first, and then your fear shrinks. Psychologists today confirm what Napoleon Hill taught nearly a century ago. Your brain takes cues from your body. If you act powerful, it releases chemicals that make you feel powerful. It's not lying. It's rewiring. When you behave like the version of yourself you dream of being, your brain adjusts to match that new identity. The Abraham Lincoln lesson. When Abraham Lincoln first ran for public office, he had no wealth, no connections, and little formal education. Many people laughed at the idea that a poor country lawyer could ever become president. But Lincoln carried himself with quiet dignity and conviction. He acted as if he already belonged among leaders. He didn't boast. He didn't pretend to be someone else. He simply walked, spoke, and made decisions like a man destined to lead. The world eventually agreed with his belief. Lincoln proved that the image you hold of yourself becomes the truth the world sees. Your mind believes what you show it. Here's something powerful to remember. Your brain doesn't wait for proof. It responds to patterns. If you act unsure, it assumes you have reason to doubt. If you act certain, it assumes you have reason to believe. That's why. The way you carry yourself each day matters more than you realize. When you look people in the eye, your mind says, I belong here. When you speak clearly, your mind says, my words have value. When you stand tall, your mind says, I am strong. Each action rewires your self-image, and over time, your new reality forms around it. This is the acting as if principle in motion. You build the bridge to your future by walking as if it already exists. How to practice the act as if habit? You can start today, right now, with simple steps. 1. Choose your role. Decide who you want to be: confident, successful, kind, bold. See it clearly in your mind. Point 2. Dress the part. Wear clothes that make you feel capable and professional. They tell your brain, I'm stepping into my next level. 3. Move the part. Walk with purpose. Look people in the eye. Smile first. Speak with energy. Point 4. Decide the part. Make decisions like the person you want to become. Ask, what would the confident version of me do right now? Then do that. Point 5. Repeat daily. The more you act this way, the faster your brain locks onto your new identity. Before long, you won't be pretending anymore, you'll be living it. From pretending to becoming. Clara, the woman who once feared speaking, now travels across the country inspiring others. She still feels a flutter before every talk, but that's not fear anymore. That's energy. Because long before she was a speaker, she acted as one. She stopped waiting to feel ready and decided to act ready. That's how transformation happens, quietly, one brave decision at a time. The takeaway: Napoleon Hill taught that success begins with thought, grows through belief, and becomes real through action. Acting as if is the bridge that connects all three. When you behave like the person you wish to become, you're telling your mind and the universe, I'm already on my way. So walk tall even when your knees shake. Speak up even when your voice trembles. Take action even when your heart doubts. Because confidence doesn't come from waiting for proof, it comes from creating it. Remember, acting as if you're confident is not pretending. It's practicing. And every time you practice being your best self, you become a little more of that person for real. You're not faking it. You're becoming it. Would you like me to continue with part 5? Building unshakable faith in yourself. Written in the same motivational story style and 1,000-word length. Part 5. Building unshakable faith in yourself. Look, every person who has achieved greatness started the same way, with nothing but a fragile idea and a flicker of belief. The world didn't believe in them yet, but they believed in themselves long enough for the world to catch up. That's the real secret of success. Faith in yourself when no one else sees it yet. The seed of every dream. Years ago, a young man named Samuel worked as a clerk in a dusty store in Ohio. He earned barely enough to survive, but every night after work, he wrote in a small notebook ideas for inventions that could change people's lives. His coworkers laughed at him. Sam, you're wasting your time, they said. You're no inventor. But Samuel had something they didn't, faith. He didn't know how he'd make his dreams real, but he refused to let the doubt of others plant roots in his mind. Every night, he told himself, "If I hold this vision and work toward it, something will happen." Years later, that same clerk became Samuel Morse, the inventor of the telegraph, a creation that changed communication forever. He didn't start with money, connections, or luck. He started with belief, and belief multiplied everything else. Napoleon Hill's law of faith. Hill called faith the eternal elixir that gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. Faith turns imagination into achievement. It is not hope, and it is not luck. It's a decision to trust yourself and your purpose even when the path is invisible. Hill wrote, "Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches." When you have faith in your dream, your subconscious mind goes to work. It begins to find paths, people, and opportunities that match your belief. But if you let fear dominate, your mind finds evidence to justify failure. Your belief, or your doubt, both build realities. That's why successful people guard their faith like treasure. They know what they believe in, and they protect it fiercely. Faith is built, not born. Some people think faith is something you're born with. That confident people just have it. But the truth is, faith is trained like a muscle. You build it through repetition. You strengthen it by proving to yourself, again and again, that you can keep going even when things go wrong. Every time you act with courage, even a little, your faith grows stronger. Faith says, "I can do this." Even when you don't yet know how. Doubt says, "I'll wait until I'm sure." The people who wait for certainty never move. The people who believe in themselves move, and find certainty along the way. Think of faith like crossing a bridge in the fog. You can't see the other side clearly, but you take one step, and then another, until the path reveals itself. That's how life works. The bridge appears one plank at a time. After you start walking. The story of the Steel King. Napoleon Hill loved to tell the story of Andrew Carnegie, the Scottish immigrant who built one of the greatest fortunes in history. Carnegie arrived in America with almost nothing, just a few coins and a burning belief that he could rise higher than his circumstances. When Hill interviewed him years later, Carnegie said, "I had faith in myself long before anyone else did. That faith carried me when everything else failed." Carnegie didn't wait for permission to think big. He believed that if he helped others grow, success would follow. That belief guided every decision he made, from how he treated his workers to how he built his empire. Faith gave him the courage to take risks others feared. Faith turned him from a poor messenger boy into a man who changed the course of industry. And it all began inside, with a decision to believe. How to build unshakable faith. Faith isn't blind optimism. It's a habit of thought. You build it daily by controlling what you feed your mind. Here's how. 1. Speak faith, not fear. Every word you say programs your mind. Say, "I can more than." "I can't." Say, "I will more than." "I'll try." Hill taught that autosuggestion, repeating positive, definite statements, plants faith deep into your subconscious. Point 2. Visualize your success. Spend time each day imagining your goal as already achieved. Picture how it feels, what it looks like, who you've become. This is not daydreaming, it's mental conditioning. Your brain begins to accept that picture as possible, even inevitable. Point 3. Take one bold step every day. Faith without action fades. Every action, no matter how small, proves to your mind that your belief is real. Point 4. Protect your mind. Avoid the company of chronic doubters and complainers. Their words can poison your faith. Surround yourself with people who remind you that you are capable, not limited. Point 5. Remember past victories. When you feel weak, recall moments when you overcame difficulty. Each memory is proof that you can do it again. Faith is not something that appears once and stays forever. It must be fed daily with the right thoughts and actions. The bridge between thought and reality. Hill said that faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. You may not see results yet, but faith holds you steady until they appear. It's like planting seeds. You don't dig them up every day to check if they're growing. You water them, trust the process, and wait for the harvest. Faith is doing the work, believing that what you planted will bloom in its own time. The story of the forgotten musician. A jazz musician named Ray played piano in dim bars across New Orleans. For years, he barely scraped by. People told him to quit, to find something more stable. But Ray believed he was born to make music. Every night, even when no one clapped, He played like the world was listening. One night, a record producer walked into that smoky bar, heard him play, and signed him on the spot. That man was Ray Charles, who went on to become a legend, not because luck found him, but because faith kept him ready when luck arrived. Faith doesn't eliminate the struggle. It gives the struggle meaning. When you doubt yourself, there will be days when your faith feels small. Everyone faces that moment, even the strongest people you admire. When that happens, remember this: faith doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you act in spite of doubt. You may not always feel brave. That's okay. Act bravely anyway. You may not always feel sure. That's okay. Keep moving forward anyway. Each time you do, your faith grows thicker, stronger, and deeper, until one day, you realize nothing can shake it anymore. The takeaway: Napoleon Hill taught that faith is the key that unlocks every other power: confidence, action, persistence, and success. You can have a great idea, a strong plan, and endless potential, but without faith, none of it matters. With faith, everything changes. It's the quiet voice that says, keep going. When logic says stop. It's the spark that lights when the world is dark. It's the power that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. So decide, right now, that you will believe in yourself, no matter what. Speak faith. Walk faith. Act faith. Because once your faith in yourself becomes unshakable, the world will have no choice but to believe in you, too. Would you like me to continue with part 6? The courage to persevere until you win. Written in the same motivational Napoleon Hill style, about 1,000 words, story-driven, and American-focused. Part 6. The courage to persevere until you win. Hook. Every dream starts with excitement, but it's the days that follow, the hard days, the quiet ones, the lonely ones, that decide who wins and who quits. Most people stop 3 feet from gold. The few who keep digging become legends. The moment most people quit, there's an old story Napoleon Hill shared in Think and Grow Rich about a man named R.U. Darby. Darby and his uncle went west during the gold rush. They found a vein of gold, bought machinery, and started mining. For a few weeks, the gold came easily, and then suddenly, nothing. They kept digging, but the vein disappeared. Discouraged, they quit. They sold the equipment to a junk dealer and went home. The junk dealer, curious, brought in an engineer to study the mine. After a few calculations, the engineer discovered that the vein of gold lay just 3 feet from where Darby had stopped digging. 3 feet. The junk dealer dug those 3 feet and found one of the richest gold veins in Colorado. Darby learned a priceless lesson: success often hides behind one more try. He later became a wealthy insurance salesman because he applied that lesson to life. When a client said no, Darby remembered the mine and tried again. That persistence made him a millionaire. Perseverance is the hidden key. Every dream will test you. Every mountain will challenge you. But perseverance, the quiet courage to keep moving when nothing seems to work, separates winners from wishers. Napoleon Hill wrote, "The person who gives up easily can never win. The person who never quits cannot fail." You don't need to be the smartest or fastest. You just need to be the one who refuses to stop. Think about Thomas Edison again. He failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. When asked how he kept going, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." He didn't see failure as defeat, he saw it as progress. That's perseverance in action. The fire within perseverance isn't about stubbornness. It's about vision, seeing something so clearly in your mind that no amount of setback can erase it. When Henry Ford tried to build the first automobile, people laughed at him. They said, "If people want faster transportation, they'll buy a faster horse." But Ford had a picture in his mind, a car every working family could afford. That vision burned so brightly that every failure only fueled him. It wasn't luck that made Ford successful. It was persistence fueled by faith. Every setback is a test. It asks, "How badly do you want this?" If you stop, the dream fades. If you keep going, the universe begins to move things in your favor. When the road gets dark, let's be honest, perseverance doesn't feel heroic when you're in the middle of it. It feels lonely. It feels slow. But that's when your character is being built. When you can keep faith through confusion. When you can take action through fatigue. When you can believe through silence. That's when your destiny starts to unfold. Napoleon Hill said, "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." You may not see it right now, but those difficult days are shaping you into someone stronger, someone ready to handle the success that's coming. The story of Colonel Sanders. At the age of 65, Harlan Sanders had a small roadside restaurant in Kentucky. A new highway was built, and traffic vanished. His business collapsed. Most people at that age would have retired quietly, but Sanders refused to quit. He believed in his fried chicken recipe, truly believed it could change lives. He packed his car with a few cooking supplies and began driving from restaurant to restaurant, offering his recipe in exchange for a small share of profits. He was rejected over 1,000 times before someone said yes. That yes became Kentucky Fried Chicken, a global brand known across the world. Imagine if he had stopped at rejection number 999. That's perseverance. That's faith in action. Persistence plus faith equals power. Faith gives you the vision. Perseverance gives you the victory. Together, they form an unstoppable force. When you refuse to quit, something shifts inside you and around you. You begin to attract the right people, the right moments, and the right chances. The world moves for the one who won't give up. Your job is not to know how it will happen. Your job is to keep showing up until it does. The American spirit. The history of this country was built on perseverance. From the pioneers who crossed unknown lands, to inventors who turned dreams into reality, to everyday workers who built businesses from nothing. The American dream is not about luck. It's about grit, determination, and the courage to stand up one more time after falling. You come from that same spirit. It's in your blood. You were not made to give up, you were made to rise. How to build perseverance. 1. Remember your why. Write down why your dream matters. When the road gets rough, your why will keep you moving. Point 2. Break it down. Big goals can feel impossible. Divide them into daily steps. Focus only on what you can do today. Point 3. Celebrate small wins. Every tiny victory counts. Each one proves you're getting stronger. Point 4. Learn from every no. Every rejection is a direction. Ask what it's teaching you, adjust, and move forward. Point 5. Keep your faith alive. Read, listen, or pray, whatever keeps your belief burning. Protect that fire like your life depends on it. Because it does. The reward for not quitting. When you finally reach the summit of your dream, you'll realize something powerful. It wasn't just the goal that mattered. It was the person you became while climbing. You'll look back and see that every fall made you stronger, every failure made you wiser, and every moment of perseverance made you unstoppable. That is the real reward. Success is not about luck, timing, or talent. It's about refusing to quit when quitting feels easier. You're turned somewhere inside you. There's an idea, a dream, a spark, something the world needs. Don't bury it. Don't doubt it, feed it. Protect it. Build it, one action, one belief, one day at a time. You are 3 feet from gold. Keep digging. Because the next step you take could be the one that changes everything. Glowing star call to action. If this message lit a fire in you, if you're ready to believe in yourself, act with courage, and persevere until you win, then don't keep it to yourself. Backhand index pointing right. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe for the next journey of growth and success. Backhand index pointing right. And in the comments, tell me, what dream are you refusing to quit on today? Your story might inspire someone else to keep going. Remember, the world belongs to those who never give up. Now go out there and win your own gold.